Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, on a new edition of our virtual online interviews. And today we want to talk to Osisko Metals, and Robert Wares is here with us directly from Canada, to give an update on some really exciting news. Hey, good morning to Canada, Robert. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jürgen. Very, very good. Yourself?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much. Sun is shining, and I'm really happy when I see your results. Before we come to the really important stuff with your let's call it water management hydrological results, I found on the 26th April, you already reported some very good drill results from your prismatic type mineralization. Maybe you want to comment first on that a bit.
Yes, that was a wrap up of the winter drill program on the west zone of our property. So this area represents the highest grade deposits we have on the property, the ones that we would or we're planning to mine with shallow underground. Never been touched since the 70s, essentially, because during the lifetime of the Point mine, these deposits did not belong to Cominco. They were owned by another company called Westman, and I don't have the details to why they never cut a deal with Cominco to put them into production, but be that as it may, by the time the mine closed in '88, they still didn't have a deal. So, of course, now we own the whole camp, including the West Zone deposits. The first company ever in the history of that area to own 100% of all the deposits in the area. And so we decided to go back last winter to start infill drilling and confirmatory drilling. As you know, with 43-101 Canadian standards, you can't just use historical drilling results. You have to do some validation to bring it up to modern standards for resource estimates. So we already had a resource model for each deposit based on the historical data. But of course, again, we have to do infill to convert to indicated resources and also to validate the data. And we were very pleased with the results because all of our drilling either matched what we had predicted from the historical block model, or in some cases exceeded. R190, which we announced early, was a fine example where we hit spectacular grades up to 27 meters of 42, almost 43% combined lead zinc, higher grade than we expected. Also, validation of rather poor data in the database that allows us to increase by an additional 20 meters depth the extent of this high grade prismatic zones. So at 42%, it's really spectacular grades. In fact, what we did report in the press release, but which we established as well, is that the core, in this case the prismatic, intersected 7 meters of 56% combined lead zinc, which is absolutely amazing. I have to say that in my career, I've never seen just high grades in a base metal deposit of any kind. It's truly exceptional. And at this point, I think we can explain these extraordinary results by two things. Back in the 70s, they would have drilled much smaller diameter core. That would have resulted in significant core loss in the drilling program. And of course, when you have loss of core, you're running the risk of underestimating the true grade of deposit. So given that we were running a program that was combined validation drilling also with our water well testing program, we drilled a higher diameter core called HQ, which runs about 5-6 centimeters diameter, and that allow us to get much better core recoveries. And so in the case of R190, the results were spectacular. In the other deposits we drilled, the results slightly exceeded, but for the most part met what we had in our block model. So the whole program, from a infill drilling point of view, was a great success. We're getting either what we expected or better, and that's excellent confirmation. So we're certainly going to carry on with that, starting the end of the month or early July, our new drill program. And again, we're going to focus on drilling off the West Zone to bring all of that into the indicated category for the eventual feasibility study. It's part of the ongoing program.
Super. And the indicated category would be then enough for the feasibility. That is okay.
Yes, because you need indicated resource in the feasibility to convert to reserves. You cannot, again, by 43101 standards, you cannot do that with inferred. So you can only do it with indicated category.
Okay, super. Then let's talk about, I think this is a super important point, about your hydrogeological program. Yeah. And you brought that out on, I think it was just 2nd June. And I saw here that it indicates a significant and positive change to the company's understanding of groundwater flow conditions with potential to significantly reduce costs related to future dewatering. I think this is a super important step because as far as I understood from the past, the problem with that mine was always that they had very high dewatering costs. And if you can install like a, let's say like a modern water flow system and groundwater flow system, you can save really a ton of money, right?
Yeah. So in the past, what dewatering costs, they weren't outrageous, but they were significant. But there are two things. In their mine plan, with making new discoveries, Cominco tended to shift their mine plan on a constant basis, which really didn't allow them to have a disciplined approach to dewatering. And secondly, I mean, to be honest, it's more of a seat of the pants and shoot from the hip kind of approach in terms of dewatering. And so it just involved a lot of pumping. So despite that, it was still Cominco's most lucrative mine because mining costs were very low. And of course, they were mining 10.5% zinc, a shallow open pit. Again, keep in mind when you're doing shallow open pit mining, you're looking at a 10% of mining costs relative to an underground mine. So despite the water, the Pine Point camp was a very lucrative operation for Cominco. And of course, we believe we can do that again. But on the dewatering side, we think we can do much better. And that's simply because by using the approach of careful modeling of water inflow into the system, and then having for each area that we're going to mine, preconceiving and pre-planning a disciplined water management system to dewater. So that, for example, if we work in an area where we have, let's say, a cluster of 4 deposits, the type of approach we would take is dewater the entire cluster in one shot, not just one pit at a time. So by figuring out how the pits are connected and how the water influx is connected to the system, you can be, 3,000 times more efficient in terms of water management and planning out your pumping strategy. And also grouting. Grouting technology has improved immensely since the 1980s. We could actually use material on site, the sands and the tailings, or a mixture of the two, to use as grouting material. And the very good news from these preliminary results, I emphasize that they're preliminary, is in terms of a model. Previous workers assumed that the water influx was formational, like an artesian well, for example. We have one formation carrying the water, being the water aquifer, and the fluid flow being essentially horizontal throughout that formation. So in our early PEA, the costs went through the roof in terms of this basic model, assuming an aquifer infiltration with essentially constant porosity and so on, which we tried to explain in the press release, but maybe it didn't come through. When you assume that, you basically have a giant slab of water or percolating through the system, affecting all your pits. And we established through the tracer studies that is now most likely not the case. Water infiltration is, in fact, controlled by discrete faults and individual fractures. So that means that once we identify these faults, it's much easier to grout those and seal off the water influx than it is to try to seal off an entire formation. So just on that basis, conceptually, we'll be able to save on grouting costs and pumping costs simply by identifying the faults, seeing which pits these faults affect, and significantly reduce our water management costs. And again, I emphasize in the PEA, we had over life of mine $370 million allocated to water management. Very high number. Yeah. In our 10-year mine plan, that would have come up to $37 million a year. Or you take it another way, $370 million for 39 million tons of material, you're looking roughly $10 million per ton in water management costs. So obviously those are very high numbers, and that's where we're very confident we can significantly reduce those with proper water management. And these initial results telling us that it's fault controlled and not formational control, that's a huge plus. That's a huge plus for us.
Super. Yeah, and I think, let's put it that way. If you can halve those costs, for example, it's just a speculation from my side, of course. I mean, that would have significant, really significant impact on the economic numbers, right?
Absolutely.
And also, I think with this, with what you have found out now, it looks to me like also that you have much more flexibility for the whole, let's say, mine setup, for the whole mine design. And it looks like you can do it much easier. Would it be possible, the water you are pumping up then to the surface, can you use that also for processing?
Processing, possibly, but not necessary. I mean, the amount of water, regardless, the amount of water we pump out of the system is going to be much higher than what we need for processing. So, no, right now, what we plan on doing is taking that water and pumping it back underground. It's a very slightly saline, and the plan is to keep it out of the superficial environment and just pumping back underground, which was done in the past as well. Okay, super. And you must not clean something, because the water comes out of the ground and it goes without any treatment back into the ground. No, if we lost the option, it would probably have to be treated. It's not metal bearing, it's not acid. At worst case scenario, it would be a desalination process. But again, we're confident we'll obtain the permits just to pump it back underground. Don't forget, there's a lot of karst. There's a lot of areas of the camp there which are quite porous, including rather large cavities that are filled with sand and so on. So I think there'll be lots of opportunities to get that water back underground. Super. Okay. So what are the next immediate steps, let's say, for the next 6 months? What can we expect? So starting a drill program at the end of June. We've got a 13,000 meter program slated for the rest of the year, going into the late fall. And so again, that's going to be mostly infill drilling, validation drilling, again, to convert inferred to indicated, but most importantly, we're going to take the opportunity. We have 11, at this point, we have 10 deposits in our resource inventory out of 47 are still open along tabular zones. So we're going to drill test those tabular zones in the hope of increasing our resource. So that's phase 2. And there's still a few exploration targets we want to take a stab at. So we have a small budget, maybe I would say 3,000 meters slated for exploratory drilling on brand new targets. So we anticipate, again, excellent results, the infill to confirm or improve or increase our resource base. And then again, as we move towards converting everything to indicated, the closer we get to having reserves and moving on to a mine build. So it's right now we're on time, on budget, and in my opinion, the project is going very well. Super. Perfect. When do you think you have final results from the hydrological, geological drilling then? Because you said this is all preliminary. When do you think finally, when it's like, I would call it cemented, that nothing can change? Well, okay, there's two approaches. In the shorter term, for the updated PEA, which were slated for Q1 2022, we should have the results of all the 18 wells drilled. That will include drawdown tests and tracer tests.
Mm-hmm.
That'll give us a very good idea of the water influx in the system. And that will allow us to better model water management for the upcoming PEA. So that should be available this fall. Mm-hmm. Going on towards feasibility to perfectly quantify water influx, we're going to have to do pumping tests on those wells. And that will be data that will be better quantified towards the eventual feasibility. Okay. But in the shorter term, our objective is to publish the new PEA this fall, in Q1 2022, with better water management numbers. I'm confident we'll be able to do it, of course, at a higher spot price for zinc. The last PEA was done at $1.15. I'm hoping we can maybe do that at $1.30. So that's going to have a very positive impact on our NPV and IRR. And we're working also this year towards trying to beef up that zinc recovery from 87 to 90. That would be very nice. Mm-hmm. We think we can do it by fine-tuning the X-ray sorting circuit, and also playing around with the cleaner circular flotation. Mm-hmm. So if we can get from 87 to 90% recovery, that would be outstanding. And I think we have a good crack at it.
Wow. So, that sounds great to me. Then I would say good luck for that, and really look forward to a lot of news flow here. And please keep us posted, and I have a good feeling that we talk quite soon then.
Okay, that's very nice to accord us this interview. And yes, we are certainly looking forward to a very exciting year. It's a great project. We're still very bullish on zinc. Mm-hmm. And again, given the characteristics of this deposit in terms of critical mass of resource, fantastic metallurgy, infrastructure, we're still strong believers this is one of the best zinc projects in North America.
Super. I couldn't have said it better. Thank you very much. You just did my summary at the end here, which I normally do. Robert, thank you very much. All the best, and let's talk soon. And please keep us posted here. Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
Bye-bye. Yeah, cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Robert Wares from Osisko Metals, and you heard it. Things are really on time, on budget, and the company is full on track. The hydrogeological drill program was a real success so far. It looks really like they are keeping a lot of flexibility here, and probably bring down the dewatering costs significantly, which would have a high impact onto the economics of the project. And also, as Robert just pointed out, it is a fantastic, it is a top project in the world, and if they also can bring up the metallurgy from 87 to 90%, that would benefit a lot. Zinc prices are higher than in the last PEA, so we look forward latest to Q1 2022 when the new PEA comes out, but I think also they will bring out a lot more good drill results. So have a look at the company, it's really worth it. Thanks for watching us, and bye-bye from Switzerland.